Hello, I'm Henry, and I have a tale to share with you that unfolded not too long ago. It's a concept that still eludes my full understanding, yet I believe it's valuable to share. Thus, this is where it all started. At 28, my life had followed a rather predictable path until recently. Nothing too wild, just the usual day-to-day activities. I resided solo in a home that I had successfully acquired after several years of diligent effort in a respectable position. It may not have been extravagant, but it belonged to me. I found myself somewhat isolated, without the presence of family or close friends. Sure, I had a few friends I would spend time with occasionally, but none of them were the kind to reach out when something significant was happening in their lives. To sum it up, I found myself alone, and although that brought a certain sense of freedom, it also left me feeling a bit isolated at times. One day, I spotted a moving truck arriving across the street. Initially, I brushed it off. New neighbors seemed like no big deal, right? Yet, it marked the beginning of an unexpected journey that would alter everything for me. A small family moved in, consisting of just a mother and her son. A mother named Dana was in her early 40s, while her son, Sam, was around 20 years old. At first glance, Dana appeared significantly younger than her years. There was an undeniable vibrancy surrounding her, and truthfully, she appeared as though she could effortlessly be mistaken for someone in their early 30s. It was something that struck me immediately, and I couldn't help but think, wow, she doesn't fit the mold of a conventional mom. While I wouldn't label her as stunningly beautiful, there was an undeniable quality about her. She possessed an undeniable aura. Sam was slightly younger than I was, and initially, I didn't give him much thought. He was amicable, yet we didn't share a deep connection. Our conversations began to flow more freely when we crossed paths outside, engaging in the typical friendly exchanges of neighbors. We shared some friendly words, and that was about all there was to it. However, Dana, she stood apart. It wasn't merely her appearance, it was the manner in which she engaged with me. She showed a true curiosity in our conversation, inquiring about my life, my activities, and more. I found that quite unfamiliar. It's rare for someone to take the initiative to connect with another person in such a manner, particularly when it involves the mother of a guy I hardly knew. She began to visit more frequently. Initially, it began with the typical acts of kindness between neighbors. "Hey, Henry, would you mind lending a hand with something in the backyard? I could use some guidance on how to repair the plumbing." "You're familiar with that, aren't you?" I found it to be of no concern. I was pleased to assist, just the sort of person I am. Yet, with each question she posed, I became increasingly aware of her manner of speaking to me. The focus extended beyond the immediate assignment. She would offer a subtle smile, inching a bit nearer. I was at a loss for how to interpret it. Was she merely being cordial, or was there an underlying motive at play? I attempt to dismiss it as inconsequential. Yet, there were those fleeting instances that lingered in my mind. She would praise me for the most unexpected things. The dedication I put into my tasks, the care I took in maintaining my environment, and the respect I showed to others. And she approached it in a manner that left me feeling somewhat peculiar, to be honest. It was far from the kind of casual praise one might receive from an unfamiliar face. It had a deeper connection. I found myself questioning my perceptions, sensing that there was something deeper lurking just beneath the surface. One afternoon, I decided to lend a hand to Dana once more. She inquired whether I could stop by to examine a few aspects of the garden, perhaps lend a hand with the tidying up. Nothing significant, just the typical matters. However, upon my arrival, I found it to be quite different. She sat on the porch as I approached, gazing across the yard. Her face lit up with a smile as she spotted me, and she beckoned me to come closer. I recall pondering, she appears even more stunning today. Her appeal extended far beyond mere appearances. It was the manner in which she carried herself, the way her smile reached me. This time, it had a distinct feeling. "Hey, Henry," she murmured, her tone gentle and welcoming. "It's wonderful to have you here. Your presence is truly invaluable to me." I let out a soft laugh, attempting to maintain my composure. It's truly not an issue at all. She rose to her feet and approached me. As she moved closer, I found myself acutely aware of her proximity. There was an undeniable quality about her, something that seemed, I can't quite put my finger on it, captivating. It left me feeling somewhat unsettled, as if I was uncertain about the appropriate course of action. I attempted to concentrate on the task before me, yet she continued to speak, posing questions and drawing me into lengthy discussions about matters that appeared unrelated to the repairs needed around the house. It felt like she was seeking to understand me more profoundly. Suddenly, she took an action that completely caught me off guard. She moved closer and pressed her lips against mine. It was not merely a fleeting kiss on the cheek. The kiss was complete. I stood still. My thoughts faded into emptiness. I was at a loss for how to respond. Honestly, who really does? I took a step back, utterly astonished, and simply gazed at her for a brief moment. Dana, observing my response, appeared completely unfazed. Instead, she gazed at me with those large, expressive eyes of hers, and simply smiled, as if she had been anticipating my response all along. Apologies escaped her lips in a gentle whisper. This may come as a surprise, but I'd been experiencing these feelings for some time now. I believe you are truly unique, and I've been curious if you might share those feelings. I found myself at a loss for words. I was completely taken by surprise. Yet, the reality was, there was an undeniable quality about her. Despite the whirlwind of questions swirling in my mind, a part of me was undeniably swept away by a surge of emotions. Is it possible that she actually had feelings for me? I inhaled deeply, seeking to find my balance. I find myself at a loss for words, Dana. This completely took me by surprise. She smiled once more, her expression tinged with a hint of understanding. I get that you might be feeling uncertain, Henry, but I truly believe you have great value. If you're open to it, I would love to learn more about you. And that was all there was to it. That moment transformed everything. Well, where should I start? Following Dana's kiss, I found myself in a whirlwind of thoughts. I wasn't exactly disgusted or anything. Indeed, an odd and perplexing sensation stirred within my chest. It felt like a blend of exhilaration and a touch of anxiety. But truly, it's primarily a sense of urgency. After that kiss, everything became a blur in my mind. The afternoon slipped away from me, leaving only a haze of indistinct moments. Dana, bless her soul, appeared utterly relaxed. She offered no apology for the kiss, nor did she appear to feel any embarrassment about it. She simply smiled at me and continued discussing whatever task we were meant to be engaged in, primarily yard work, but my attention had drifted away from that. Thoughts surged through my mind like a whirlwind. She guided me into the house, and we settled at the kitchen table, engaging in a delightful conversation about the most unexpected topics. Yet, whenever she met my gaze, a fluttering sensation would rise in my stomach, compelling me to turn my eyes elsewhere. I found myself questioning whether my perceptions were merely figments of my imagination. Was I genuinely experiencing what I believed I was, or was I merely caught in a web of overanalysis? For the next few minutes, we continued our conversation, yet everything felt oddly familiar, even amidst the turmoil swirling in my mind. She appeared completely unfazed, as if nothing had transpired. Yet, in a single moment, my entire world transformed. Ultimately, I discovered a means to extricate myself from the situation. Listen, Dana, I really have to head out now. I have some matters to attend to. I experienced a profound sense of cowardice. Leaving was not my desire, yet I found myself at a loss for how to navigate the circumstances. I couldn't simply remain there, acting as if everything was okay while I was in a state of turmoil inside. I needed to leave that place behind. Dana offered me a subtle smile, as if she grasped the unspoken words between us. Absolutely, Henry. Thank you for visiting. We'll discuss this further soon, all right? I merely nodded, unsure of the reliability of my own voice. As soon as I crossed the threshold, I inhaled deeply. It felt as though I was slipping away from a dream, yet it was a dream I was uncertain about leaving behind. I found myself at a loss, uncertain of how to proceed. I found myself in my late 20s. I wasn't just an inexperienced individual lacking clarity about my desires, this situation was different. This felt unique. Upon arriving home, I found myself seated in the living room, gazing blankly at the wall. I felt as though I was anticipating a sign, a clue that would bring clarity to everything happening around me. Yet, as I pondered further, my confusion only deepened. Could this have been an error? Should I simply let it go and continue forward? Yet, no matter how hard I attempted to dismiss it from my thoughts, one particular notion persistently resurfaced. Dana. She was older than I was, no doubt, yet she didn't carry that weight of age. She radiated vitality and possessed an undeniable charm. I couldn't ignore the fact that I had felt drawn to her for some time. She appeared stunning for her age. There was a part of me that clung to the notion that it wasn't significant, that perhaps I was merely conjuring up scenarios in my mind, and that this was simply an isolated incident. Yet, as I pondered further, it became increasingly clear to me that Dana was not the type to err in such a matter. She was fully aware of her actions, which left me with a singular, urgent question. What makes me the right choice? For the next few hours, I endeavored to find some peace, yet my mind remained fixated on it. Thus, I took the course of action that any sensible individual would pursue. I reached out to my closest companion, Sam. Allow me to clarify. Sam and I didn't share a particularly tight bond. Certainly, we lived next door and spent some time together, but we weren't really the type to exchange profound secrets or open up about everything in our lives. Yet, I found myself needing to confide in someone, and Sam was the first individual that popped into my thoughts. Hello there. My name is Henry. I mentioned it when he answered the call. May we have a conversation? He seemed somewhat preoccupied. Absolutely, of course. Hello. How's it going? There was a moment of uncertainty. I found myself uncertain about how to approach the topic. How do you even express, "Hey, your mom kissed me today"? It seemed absurd to even contemplate, yet it was unfolding before me, and I couldn't turn a blind eye to it. I need to share something unusual that occurred, if you have a moment. I began making an effort to sound more laid back. Today, Dana, your mom, gave me a kiss. A prolonged silence lingered on the other end of the line. It was evident that Sam was uncertain whether he had understood me accurately. Excuse me? He finally inquired, his tone laced with incredulity. Indeed, she kissed me. I found myself saying it again, a wave of embarrassment washing over me as the words left my lips. I was completely taken by surprise. I'm uncertain about how to feel regarding this matter. Sam fell silent for a moment, likely reflecting on all that I had just shared. When he finally spoke again, his tone had transformed entirely. Listen, Henry, I'm at a loss for words here. I understand my mom is, let's say, unique, but I never imagined, I don't believe she would act that way unless she truly had feelings for you. I found myself at a loss for words in that moment. It seemed as though Sam was subtly urging it on, yet I found myself uncertain about whether I truly wanted to embark on this path. I found myself questioning whether this was something I could truly manage. I'm not quite sure, you know? I whispered under my breath. At this moment, I find myself in a state of confusion. With a heavy sigh, Sam exhaled deeply. I understand where you're coming from. This might be overwhelming, but if you have feelings for her, it's best to just have a conversation with her. Come to a conclusion. It's not as if she's requesting something outlandish. I swept my fingers through my hair. I'm not quite sure, Sam. I find myself questioning whether I'm truly prepared for everything that lies ahead. I'm unsure about what I truly desire. Following that discussion, I found myself feeling even more adrift. A part of me felt compelled to reach out to Dana and inquire about the events that had unfolded. I was curious about her thoughts, yet I hesitated, uncertain of where that dialogue could take us. I accomplished nothing. I chose not to contact Dana, and I refrained from becoming involved in anything else. The remainder of the day drifted by in a haze, leaving me uncertain about my next steps. The subsequent days passed in a haze. I encountered Dana on several occasions, yet there was an unmistakable shift in the atmosphere. It was different this time. Our conversations continued, yet an unspoken tension lingered in the air between us. Something had changed, and I couldn't quite determine whether it was for the better or the worse. Ultimately, all I could do was bide my time. I needed to determine whether this was an avenue I was ready to pursue. I found myself uncertain about taking the plunge into a relationship with Dana, yet I couldn't shake the thoughts of her from my mind. I needed to discern whether this was merely a fleeting instance or something deeper. After all that transpired, I ended up in a situation I never anticipated. Dana had kissed me, and even though my thoughts were swirling with uncertainty and inquiries, there was one undeniable truth I couldn't ignore. I found myself captivated. I realized I couldn't simply allow the situation to remain unresolved, suspended in this strange, unarticulated space between us. I needed to confront it, or it would surely drive me mad. That's when I chose to embark on a journey I never imagined I would. I reached out to Dana. "Hey, Dana, it's Henry," I mentioned as soon as she answered. "I've been reflecting on the events from the other day, and I believe it's important for us to discuss it." A brief silence lingered on the line before she replied, her tone steady yet tinged with intrigue. "Absolutely, Henry, what are you thinking about?" A surge of anxious energy and resolve bubbled within me. I realized it was essential to understand our position. "Honestly, I'm feeling a bit perplexed. Your lips met mine, and the meaning eludes me, yet I find myself unable to shake the thought from my mind. Perhaps we should discuss it face to face." She moved forward without a moment's pause. "I would appreciate that. What do you think about this evening? I'm happy to prepare dinner for us. Let's have a conversation and work through this together." A part of me yearned to retreat at that very moment, yet I understood that I had to press on. If I don't confront this now, it will gnaw at me from the inside. I decided to head over that evening. The entire journey, I sensed my unease growing stronger. I found myself revisiting every detail in my mind. The image of Dana as she kissed me lingers, her lips brushing against mine, and her demeanor as if it were an ordinary moment. She was not merely beautiful for her age, she exuded confidence and magnetism, leaving me uncertain about my readiness to confront the implications of that reality. Upon my arrival, Dana welcomed me at the door with a friendly smile. She appeared completely at ease, as if she had been anticipating this discussion all along. "Hello, Henry, I've prepared dinner. Step right in, everything is prepared for you." I entered the room, attempting to maintain a nonchalant demeanor, yet everything seemed heightened, as if the atmosphere was saturated with expectation. I couldn't help but observe how stunning she appeared. Her hair cascaded gently over her shoulders, and she donned a dress that was both simple and elegant. She effortlessly succeeded. She was simply captivating in her grace. We settled in, and for a brief moment, the dialogue flowed easily. We chatted about various topics, my work progress, her week's events, yet it seemed we were both sidestepping the obvious issue at hand. Neither of us was eager to plunge into the genuine discussion, yet I understood it was merely a question of time before we would have to. At last, Dana set her fork aside and locked eyes with me. "Henry, I can sense that the kiss is on your mind. I must be honest, that kiss we shared was far from a mere coincidence. This feeling has lingered for some time now. You stand apart from the men I've encountered. Your authenticity resonates with me, and that's something I truly appreciate." Her words took me by surprise. Her candidness caught me off guard. Initially, I was unsure of how to react. I hadn't considered it from that perspective before. Indeed, I found her captivating, yet I never anticipated that she would share those feelings. I had invested so much energy in questioning my own emotions, attempting to make sense of it all, that I failed to take a moment to reflect on hers. I find myself at a loss for words, Dana, I admitted, grappling with how to express my thoughts. This all took me by surprise. You are the mother of my friend. It seems rather intricate, wouldn't you agree? She nodded, comprehension dawning upon her. I understand. While it may not be perfect, I'm not requesting anything that you're unprepared for. I simply wish to express my sincerity to you. If your feelings differ, that's perfectly fine. I don't wish to impose on you. The sincerity in her eyes was palpable, and for a fleeting moment, I sensed a weight being lifted from my shoulders. Dana had no intention of pressuring me or steering me in any direction. Her honesty brought a sense of ease, making everything feel a bit more manageable. Yet, it didn't imply that I wasn't still grappling with my own feelings. On one side, Dana embodied all the qualities I desired in a companion. She possessed intelligence, a great sense of humor, and undeniably captivating beauty. However, there was the reality that she was older, and she happened to be my friend's mother. It felt off in a manner I couldn't quite articulate. After a lengthy silence, I finally replied, I don't know, Dana. I have a fondness for you. I truly feel that way, yet I find myself uncertain about my readiness for everything that lies ahead. Your son, Sam, happens to be my neighbor. I find myself uncertain about how this would unfold. It seems overwhelming. Dana inhaled deeply, a gentle smile gracing her lips. I understand, Henry. I'm not expecting you to possess all the solutions at this moment. We don't have to solve everything this evening, but I believe we should take the time to delve into this matter. Simply proceed at a leisurely pace, without any stress. I gazed at her, and for the first time since this entire ordeal began, a wave of tranquility washed over me. Perhaps it wasn't as wild of a notion as it seemed initially. Perhaps I was simply apprehensive about the implications, yet I couldn't ignore the intrigue of discovering where this journey might lead. All right, I finally expressed it, the word releasing a burden from my heart. Let's explore the possibilities ahead. Dana smiled, and I noticed the relief shining in her eyes. All right, let's proceed gradually. After dinner, we lingered for a few more hours in conversation, and for the first time in ages, I sensed that I was truly prioritizing my own needs. It transcended mere politeness or the facade of appearances. I was making a decision, and I embraced the uncertainty of where it could take me. As I departed from her home that evening, a blend of apprehension and exhilaration coursed through me. I understood that this would not be a simple task, yet for the first time in ages, I sensed I was on the verge of something genuine. Perhaps I wasn't fully prepared to dive into a relationship with Dana, yet there was a glimmer of hope that I was ready to explore the possibilities. The following days unfolded in an unusual manner. It felt as though I was traversing a delicate line, teetering between my intrigue and my remorse. My mind was consumed by thoughts of Dana, the kiss, and all the words she had shared. My emotions for her were genuine, without a doubt, yet a shadow of doubt loomed above me, obscuring my vision. It was more than simply the difference in years. It wasn't just that she was my friend's mother. The intricacy of the entire situation was overwhelming. The shroud of mystery, the haze of uncertainty, the allure of the undiscovered. After that night, I encountered her a few times, yet each meeting felt slightly askew, as if we were both concealing something, unable to fully acknowledge the connection blossoming between us. Whenever we conversed, there was an undeniable, unvoiced tension in the air. We had agreed to take our time, but just how much time could we truly afford? Was I truly prepared to explore the potential of this journey, or was I merely deceiving myself into believing I could manage it? I repeatedly reminded myself that I required some time alone to reflect, to cleanse my thoughts, yet whenever the idea of stepping back crossed my mind, I felt an irresistible draw pulling me closer again. Dana possessed an uncanny ability to make me feel as though I was the sole focus of attention, as if my presence held significance in a manner I hadn't experienced in ages. Yet, amidst it all, there was Sam. Sam had always been a decent fellow, though he could be a touch immature at times. Still, he was my neighbor, and our friendship dated back to childhood. We had spent considerable time together over the years, and I had consistently regarded him as a good friend. However, now, everything seemed to have changed. Each time I encountered him, the memory of his mother's situation lingered in my mind, leaving me with an unsettling feeling. I attempted to set those thoughts aside, yet they lingered stubbornly. One evening, as I relaxed on my porch, Sam dropped by to spend time together, just like we often did. I had been keeping my distance from him, yet he appeared oblivious to it. He settled next to me, a grin spreading across his face. "Hey, I've noticed you've been a bit off lately." "Hello there," he inquired, tinged with a hint of concern, yet predominantly driven by curiosity. I shrugged, feeling at a loss for words. "There's just so much swirling around in my head, you know?" Sam reclined, gazing at the street beyond. "Absolutely, I understand. Is there something particular you have in mind? Feel free to share your thoughts with me, anytime." I paused. I found myself unable to share the truth about his mother with him. That would be an entire chaos I wasn't ready to confront. Yet, I found myself unwilling to deceive him. He was once my friend, or at least that's how it had been. "I'm not quite sure, my friend," I mentioned, give it a laid-back vibe. "Simply some items. Existence, labor. You're familiar with the experience." Sam appeared skeptical, yet he chose to overlook it. We engaged in conversation about various topics for the next few hours, yet my thoughts wandered far away. My thoughts lingered on Dana, pondering her desires and my own aspirations regarding her. Throughout it all, Sam's presence merely introduced an additional layer of complexity to the entire situation. The weight of guilt was accumulating, and there was no way to evade it. The following day, Dana reached out to me. Her voice carried a gentle quality, tinged with uncertainty, as if she harbored a concern deep within. "Henry, I've been reflecting on our relationship," she said. "I wish to speak candidly with you. I hope you don't feel any pressure, but I also want to acknowledge the connection that's developing between us. I have no expectations at the moment. I believe it's important for us to have a deeper conversation about our current situation." Her words struck me with the force of a blow to the stomach. I anticipated this conversation, yet I found myself unready for it. The tremor in her voice was unmistakable, revealing that she shared my uncertainty. This wasn't solely about my desires, it encompassed our shared aspirations, and that realization was quite daunting. "Absolutely, I concur," I spoke, my voice trembling. "Perhaps a conversation is in order. Reveal all that lies beneath the surface." We settled on a rendezvous for that evening. The entire day felt chaotic, as I raced through every conceivable scenario in my mind. Was I truly experiencing emotions for Dana? Was this merely a passing infatuation, or was there a more profound connection at play? Was I merely seeking something to occupy the emptiness in my existence? Upon reaching her home, that unmistakable tension washed over me once more. Dana awaited my arrival, her demeanor as poised as always, yet I sensed an undercurrent of anxiety beneath the surface. I felt the same way. We took our seats, and for a moment, silence enveloped us both. The stillness enveloped us, laden with the unspoken words that lingered in the air. At last, Dana shattered the stillness. "Henry, I want to ensure we have a mutual understanding on this matter. I want to be clear that I'm not placing any expectations on you that you're not prepared for, but I can no longer pretend that this doesn't hold significance for me. You occupy my thoughts frequently, perhaps more than is wise." I was taken aback by her honesty. I anticipated this conversation would be uncomfortable, yet her directness and vulnerability struck me, revealing the depth of her seriousness regarding the matter. "I share that sentiment," I confessed, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper, yet I find myself uncertain if I am prepared for this. For whatever this may be. Well, it's quite intricate, isn't it? We can't simply act like everything is fine, especially considering your role as Sam's mother. Dana nodded slowly, her expression contemplative. "I understand. I'm not expecting any immediate transformations. I simply wish for us to come to a resolution on this matter. There's no need to rush into any decisions at this moment. I simply want to ensure that we are both willing to explore the possibilities of what this could become." The gravity of her words lingered in the atmosphere, and for an instant, I sensed I was teetering on the brink of something monumental. A potential game-changer. Uncertainty lingered in my mind about whether I was prepared to embark on that journey, yet the allure of it was undeniable. I began to understand that not having all the answers might be perfectly acceptable. Perhaps, for a change, I could let go of the need to manage every detail. I'm receptive to the idea. At last, the words escaped my lips before I had a chance to reconsider. Let's ease into this, shall we? Dana smiled, her eyes reflecting a sense of relief. That's all I seek. The dialogue concluded with a subdued atmosphere, yet an undeniable change lingered in the air between us. There was an indescribable sensation within me, as if I were on the brink of embarking on a fresh journey. A moment that holds the potential to blossom into something extraordinary, or perhaps lead to a choice I may come to regret. Regardless of the challenges ahead, I was prepared to explore the journey and discover what lay in store. The following morning, I awoke with an unusual blend of relief and anxiety swirling within me. The previous night, Dana and I had engaged in a deep conversation, and while I had consented to proceed with caution, an unsettling feeling continued to linger within me. I found myself uncertain about my desires. A part of me remained captivated by her, yet another part sensed that I was in deeper than I could handle. I had always been a pragmatic individual, someone who preferred to navigate with a defined path, yet this circumstance was anything but straightforward. The strain between Dana and me had lingered for weeks, but following our discussion, it became unmistakable. It was clear she was exercising patience, allowing me the room to sort through my thoughts. Yet, as the days went by, the weight of disappointment grew heavier on my shoulders. I found myself pondering whether she might be experiencing similar feelings. I found myself in need of a conversation with another person. I found myself in need of guidance, yet I wondered, who could I seek for help? I was unable to discuss this with Sam. The idea of laying it all out for him felt overwhelming, and I doubted I could rely on my other friends for help, especially with the burden of the situation looming above me. In moments of uncertainty, I resorted to my usual approach. I contemplated it independently. The weekend arrived, and I chose to stroll through the neighborhood to refresh my mind. The atmosphere was delightful, with a refreshing and invigorating chill in the air. As I strolled, my thoughts drifted back to the events of the past few weeks. All that transpired, all that I experienced. Dana appeared confident, candid about her desires. What about me? I had my doubts. Was I prepared to dive into something so intricate? Could I truly manage being with someone significantly older than me, who also happened to be a mother to one of my nearest neighbors? Was I placing myself in a scenario that could unravel everything I understood? I lacked the solutions, yet I was certain of one thing. A choice had to be made. Later that day, I received a call from Dana. She inquired whether I might visit her home once more. A flutter stirred within me. I understood what this was. The moment had arrived for a conversation. She sought resolution, or perhaps she was yearning for me to provide her with some insights. In any case, I realized it was time to face it head-on. Upon my arrival at Dana's residence, I found her patiently awaiting my presence, seated on the porch with a steaming cup of coffee in hand. Her smile radiated warmth, yet a flicker of nervousness danced in her eyes. She understood that this was a significant moment. I was aware of it as well. "Hello, Henry." She welcomed me gently. "I've been reflecting deeply. I trust you don't feel pressured by my timing. I simply wish to avoid any awkwardness between us." I took a seat next to her, sensing the gravity of the moment enveloping us. The breeze caressed softly, yet the atmosphere weighed down with an unspoken burden. "Dana, I've been reflecting quite a bit as well. I'm uncertain about how to approach this situation. I truly don't want to, but I understand that I can't prolong this any further." She nodded, her gaze fixed on her coffee cup, as if searching for the perfect words to express herself. "I understand. I have exercised patience. I understand that you may not have all the answers at this moment, but I'm eager to know our current position. It seems to me that we are both worthy of that, wouldn't you agree?" Her words struck me with an intensity one hadn't anticipated. Naturally, she was correct. We both had a right to understand the direction of this, and I could no longer hold back, acting as if I was uncertain about my desires. The moment had arrived to confront reality, regardless of the discomfort it stirred within me. Dana, you mean a lot to me. I appreciate it, but I believe this isn't what I'm looking for at the moment. I've been attempting to persuade myself that I can manage it, that I can find a way, but the reality is, I'm not prepared for this. I'm hesitant to jeopardize our friendship or make things more complicated with Sam. I believe it would be best to let it remain as it is. I noticed the change in her expression. It wasn't rage, but rather a sense of letdown. Perhaps she felt let down by herself, but also by me. She averted her gaze, her eyes briefly roaming the street before locking onto mine once more. Indeed, she replied softly. I suppose I was expecting something else entirely. I had hoped you might share my feelings, yet I appreciate her candor. I simply couldn't bear the thought of wasting time pretending that I didn't experience something deeper. However, I understand. I genuinely do. Her words flowed with a serene cadence, yet the pain underlying her voice pierced through, leaving a deeper sting than I had anticipated. I wasn't merely stepping away from a potential connection. I found myself stepping away from a person who had truly held significance in my life, someone I believed could have been something deeper with. Ultimately, I came to understand that I wasn't prepared for that level of intimacy. Not with Dana, and certainly not at this stage of my journey. The quiet stretched on, an unspoken tension hanging in the air as we both grappled with the weight of our thoughts. I had reached my conclusion, yet the moment remained just as challenging. Dana was an incredible individual, and I understood that my feelings for her would remain, yet I recognized the necessity of moving forward. Perhaps it's time for us to pause and reflect, Dana. I believe it would be wise for us to return to a friendship. I prefer to keep things straightforward and not add any unnecessary complexity. She inhaled deeply, her expression easing slightly. I concur. I'm grateful you shared that with me, Henry. To be truthful, I am. I believe this approach will benefit us both. We lingered in silence for a bit more, and I couldn't dispel the sense that something significant had come to a close. Perhaps that turned out to be a fortunate outcome. I had accepted that I wasn't prepared to plunge into a complex relationship, particularly not with Dana, and in a sense, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I had no intention of causing any pain, nor did I wish to jeopardize the bonds I shared with her and Sam. Upon departing her residence, a feeling of resolution washed over me. I was uncertain about Dana's feelings regarding this choice, yet I felt it was the right path for me to take. It wasn't the storybook conclusion I had envisioned, but reality seldom offers us such perfect resolutions. What mattered most was that I had confronted the reality, and I was at peace with it. And with that, the chapter featuring Dana drew to a close.